Anyway, this next story has a one-word reaction. One-word analysis, and that is dictatorship. The Labor Department announced yesterday that federal laws governing private employee pension and related benefit plans will be interpreted to recognize all legal marriages of same-sex couples, regardless where the couple is living currently. This means that the Obama administration is now going to recognize all same-sex married couples, regardless of state law. They're going to do this under the private pension plan law. The decision to utilize a place of celebration, quote unquote, that's what it's called, place of celebration rule, rather than place of domicile rule, follows the lead set by the Treasury Department in recognizing marriages for purposes of the tax code, so long as they were legal in the state where the marriage was granted. In part, the guidance issued by the Labor Department about Secretary Thomas Perez's interpretation of the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974 and related regulations on Wednesday states this: following consultation with the Department of Justice, the Department of the Treasury, and other appropriate federal executive agencies, the Department of Labor is issuing this technical release to provide guidance to employee benefit plans, plan sponsors, plan fiduciaries, and plan participants and beneficiaries on the meaning of spouse and marriage, as these terms appear in the provisions of the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974 and the Internal Revenue Code that the department interprets. In general, the term spouse will be read to refer to any individuals lawfully married under any state law, including individuals married to a person of the same sex who were legally married in a state that recognizes. Yeah, I got to take a break. Anyway, let's explain this when we come back. Okay, so basically what's happened here is that via pension plans, the Labor Department, the Obama administration, has found a way to recognize same-sex marriage in every state. This is dictatorship. Just last June, the Supreme Court throws out part of the Defense of Marriage Act. The federal bureaucracy expands on the ruling, as Perez at Labor is now done, and there's going to be a lot more. And the public has no say in any of this. The courts and the bureaucracy are off and running. Voting doesn't matter. Congress doesn't matter. The states don't matter. Whatever the federal government wants to do, they're going to find some nook and cranny way of getting it done. This is, folks, dictatorship is the natural reaction anybody would have to this. Okay, so how can they do this? How can they do this? Well, here's the root. And it's, as I said, the guidance, and that means the order from the Labor Department to recognize all same-sex marriages nationally. The guidance is part of the federal government's response, the Obama administration's response, to the Supreme Court ruling in June that struck down the Defense of Marriage Act ban on recognizing same-sex couples' marriages. You remember that, maybe. Supreme Court struck down the Defense of Marriage Act ban on recognizing same-sex couples' marriages. It was greeted with great celebration. And so the Supreme Court throws out that part of the Defense of Marriage Act. Now the federal bureaucracy expands on the Supreme Court ruling. Without Congress involved, without the American people voting, the Labor Secretary, Mr. Perez, simply says, okay, well, so the Supreme Court struck down, and we're just going to now expand it to have it include what we want it to include. So you have no say. The courts and the bureaucracy are off and running. There are no checks and balances here. Voting doesn't matter. Congress doesn't matter. The states don't matter. The states that have refused to recognize same-sex marriage have just been aced here, is what this means. Because the federal government trumps all, in their view. And the federal government has just found what they think is a loophole via the private pension plan law that permits them the right to do this. Now, you're not going to see this, and this is not a big story anywhere. You're not going to have a whole lot of noise about this. There might not be any. I mean, I had to dig deep just to find this thing. It's not prominent. It's not the kind of thing that would be. This isn't because the drive-bys, while they're privately going, all right, and everybody on the left is going, all right, and celebrating, they know not to make a big deal about it. This is, at least they haven't yet. Won't be surprised if they don't, but they so want to. Oh, folks, they just would love to gloat about this because they don't look at this as dictatorship. They look at this as a moral crusade, and anything that's moral, why, you can overcome evil any way you have to, and we, of course, are the evil. And so there are no rules. Because they are good, and they are just, and whatever they want must happen. And it doesn't matter that a constitution is in the way. It doesn't matter. Nothing's off the table when it comes to establishing their view of morality.